Well, the weather's turned. I can get back in the woods. So my first modification to the 5.72 that I'm going to carry on the tractor today is to cut back those bucking spikes a little bit. You know, I went and ground that back to make it look nice, but the way they were before, they just basically gave the bar chain too much leverage over the saw, so it would stall the chain. It has to do with the geometry relative to the sprocket to where these things are biting. So by moving it in maybe a ½ inch, I'm hoping that I have changed that geometry enough where it doesn't stall that chain as fast. And maybe I can start using this for a felon saw without going back and put the original bucking spikes on, because then I'd have to go back and remodify my muffler, which I don't want to do. How's that for being lazy? Checking out the woods to see if I can get back to work in identifying a few trees over here. I think I've only picked up about 5 that I hadn't thought about before, I hadn't planned before in this woods. I pretty much want to leave it alone. If they get around 24 inches, especially the old maple, I have to start worrying about center rot, so I need to take them down. And I found a couple. And this is where we had left off, if you remember, cutting down that beech tree, actually a couple of them. And what I need to do now is just block that to the point where I can get the tractor through. And not a lot of work, but it's work. And the only saw I have with me is my 5.72. And I modified it today. You know, a true saw mod. Look at that. There's a tree right there. If I can clear it out, that might be one to take. It's an old maple. A lot of that stuff is over mature, and it's either going to be firewood or it's going to be a saw log. And the sooner I get those, the better. But yeah, managing a woodlot of this size, yeah, one guy with a saw and a tractor, pretty much, if you don't go crazy, you have enough work to keep yourself interested and busy every year for the rest of your life. If you get too production oriented, you can ruin that for yourself. Now, I got way behind on the woods across the way, which is why I went and aggressively cut it this last 2 years. I had to catch up because I'd really let it get out of hand. And I think the thing that had hit home was me realizing that trying to let the ash stay, I was doing a fairly light cut on ash probably 10 years ago. That cost me big time. Now I have to get them all, and get them all now because they're all dying. So I had to make room, which I did. I took the over mature maples, which I did. And then as soon as I can get into that woods, we're going to go after those ash trees pretty heavy, get rid of them. They're either firewood or they're going to be sold, depending on how bad they've gotten. Now, 2 years ago, you might remember, I was able to get a fair amount of the ash on the backside, the backside of the property down in the swamp. This here is not quite as swampy, but I'm going to have to spend probably 2 or 3 days to cut myself into where the stand of ash are. I'm not sure what saw I'll use. It's going to be work like this, So that's what's on the plate for me now that the springtime is beginning to show itself, is first of all to break myself into the places where I need to cut. Some of that's moving snow, some of that's moving trees like this. And you know, then starting to go right at it again. I see one right there I can take. They're not going to be much of a saw log, but if I don't take them, they're nothing. And they take canopy. Now, the other thing I'm going to be doing this year, and I'll probably take a small saw with me everywhere I go, is if you look at all that beech that's coming in, I'm going to thin that out quite a bit. Just leave it. I can't burn it all. I don't have a way of productively turning it into firewood. A lot of it's too small anyway. I'm just going to put it underground. So, all right. See if I can find a place to put the camera and fire up and cut myself out of this. You know, being a saw-oriented channel, I get into that whole thing about what's the best saw, you know, this, that, and the other thing for people to talk about and argue about. And the saw I have on the tractor right now is the best saw possible. You know why? It's because it's the one I have on the tractor. And I've been trying to work it into a more useful saw for me. And just doing the things you do in order to do that, customize it for the kind of work I do. And part of that was doing something possibly counterintuitive to some people, and that's cutting that bucking spike back, because the way that bucking spike was, it would just jam. It was just too aggressive. I'm going to see if I can put the camera on a piece of wood. I didn't bring video related things, so we're going to have to kind of impromptu this one. Well, that didn't work. Stuck right in the snow. Well, I made it up over the top of the hill. I came from over there, came over to here, across the big field. So that was a success, right? Getting up. And this is the back side. And this is the place where I'd spent a lot of time a year and a half, 2 years ago, trying to get the ash before it all died. There's still actually a fair amount out there, but it's more not that way, it's more that way because I hadn't got down in there. So I may start doing some there. And I actually have a couple of them in that mess right there that can come out. What I'm going to do is go and push that tree out of the way, going down and turn around, come back up and see if I can get out of there. I actually have a few down in here that I didn't get a chance to get, and there's one right there, and these are ash trees, that one right there. So I wonder if I ought to just put it on the ground now. I don't think I can skid it out in this mud, but get it on the ground and give me a chance to run that 572, right? Now you gotta understand, I'm way out here. Boy, I wonder if I could skid that. Get it up and out. All right, where's it gonna go? See, it's gonna go right down there, so I probably have to knock down some of those trees. And look at the way it is in the butt. So actually, I think I see about between 8 and 10 that can go, that actually need to go. Another one right there. So this is the section I didn't get to. So that one got bore cut from the front, bore cut from the side. It's got a little bit of hold wood in the back, and it's an ash tree. So, and by bore cutting it in the front, about a third of the hinge back into the center of the tree, I know it's not going to barber chair, and it most likely won't pull very much. But let's see if it'll go down. All right, let's take a look and see what the stump did. Looks to me like I could have made a little bit more of a cut. It's actually a nice tree. It's a live tree. So that'll actually bring some money. But let's go evaluate the stump. Smaller tree. I don't know, maybe 18, 20 inches. Now I got a little bit of a pull. And it's simply because I didn't cut far enough on that side. I was trying to hold it and let it go right where it went, actually. And but you can see how, had I gone just a little more, even with that not quite square cut, it would have been fine. So let me cut the saw log out of this, and then call that a day. This is ready to skid. Well, there we go. Nice, nice, nice tree.